I believe that's where we stopped, right? Okay. So we looked at the copycat principle, and we stated that the copycat principle states that when you are a pioneer or you embark upon anything, within 6 months, others will come and copy you. So whatever you are doing, you need to be disciplined enough to know that you don't have eternity to be complacent. You need to be disciplined enough to know that when you take for granted the opportunity of being a pioneer or the opportunity of starting something, competitors will hit you and competitors will join you, and it becomes more difficult. So every time you find yourself as a pioneer or you find yourself doing something, don't rest on your horse. Don't relax and think that, oh, I'm the only one doing this, oh, I'm all good. No. Make sure that every time you find yourself in any level, you are moving on to the next level. You are moving on to the next level. One of the things that will help you to become a major industry player and a reference in whatever aspect of life is that you go steps ahead of your competitors. So for instance, if you are a pioneer in a field and you pioneer something, once you understand that this thing I'm doing, within the next 6 months, a lot of people will be doing it. What you then need to do is to have 2 or 3 more layers ahead of you, so that as they are joining you, you release 2 more layers. And that gives you an edge. Before they catch up, you have released another 2 or 3 layers. After a while, they will submit and say, this is our Oga, and they will just begin to come to learn from you. But if you relax, you can suddenly realize that someone can come from the backside, and then they can disrupt the market, disrupt the industry, and you will just experience the David and Goliath effect. So make sure that you understand that. The next principle is the 20-40-60 principle. The 20-40-60 principle. The 20-40-60 principle states that when you are in your 20s and in your 30s, majority of the choices and the decisions that you make is based on other people's opinion. What will people say? How will people feel? What will people think? Because you have not come to a place of maturity here to understand that your life is your life. And people are not really as interested in your life as you think they are, because you are not a breaking news. So many times we spend money we don't have to try to impress people that we don't like. And we realize after a while that we are just wasting opportunities and wasting resources. So when you are in your 20s and in your 30s, that principle states that you are moved by other people's opinion. By the time you get into your 40s and your 50s, you have matured into a level, you have lived enough to know that you don't really care what anybody has to say. You have come to realize that your life is your life, and you then take responsibility. So by the time you get to your 40s and 50s, you begin to do things with intentionality, with maturity. But by the time you now get into your 60s and you look back, you realize by hindsight that nobody was even saying anything in the first place. That you're just the one putting yourself under unnecessary pressure. You look back and you realize that there are many things you could have done differently. Life is lived forward but understood backwards. And as you grow, you gain perspective. But you see, you don't need to learn by your own experience. And that's why as a young man, as a young woman, you need to learn all these things and be intentional and be strategic and be deliberate about the way you live your life. The next one is the Parkinson's law. The Parkinson's law. Now, the Parkinson's law, you probably heard about the Parkinson's disease. And when someone has Parkinson's disease, the muscles of their body and the nerves and the functions of their body cannot be controlled by them. So they find themselves not being able to control the movements of their limbs and the movement of different aspects of their body. Now, so Parkinson's law therefore now states that expenditure will always rise up to meet up with income. Expenditure will always rise up to meet up with income when people are bound by that disease. So what it means is that when you have this disease financially, every time your income increases, your status does not increase. Because every time your income increases, you also increase your expenditure to meet up with the income. So when you were earning 200,000 there are some things you could not do. And then all of a sudden, you get a change of job, you are now earning 450,000. Instead of you to separate that 250,000 or 200,000 and start saving it for a better life, you find out that you now increase your expenditure. And you find that even though you are earning almost double, nothing changes. So when you were earning 100,000, you used to take bikes, or you take tricycle, or you take the BRT bus. You never thought of booking boats or Uber. Why? Because your salary could not afford it. But you were still living. Now, all of a sudden, your salary has been increased. Before you know it, you are downloading app. You now have to begin to book boats. When you were earning 120,000, you were living comfortably in a self-contained apartment, saving money through cooperative, doing, contribution to meet up with your rents. You eat, you cook at home, you eat, you manage your life, you take fish, but all of a sudden, your salary has now increased to 50. You say, I want 2-bedroom. Now, you are no more cooking at home. You are going to eatery. You are going to restaurants. All of a sudden, you suddenly realize that even though your income has increased because you have a disease that is Parkinson's, what is now happening is that nothing has changed. So you come to realize that it is not how much you make that matters. It is what you do with what you make. There are people that earn less than 500,000 in a month. They are landlords. There are people that earn over $1 million a month. They are tenants. So it's not how much you make. It's what you do with what you make. Next is the generosity principle. The generosity principle. I think I've jumped the 80-20. I will go back there. The generosity principle. Okay, let's do the 80-20. Let's go back. I jumped the 80-20. So the 80-20 principle, let's go back to, the Pareto principle. Pareto principle is the 80-20 principle. And what that helps us to understand is that when you look at different areas of your life, you realize that 20% of your effort is what produces 80% of your results. So if you look at Calvary now, for instance, even if we take Rehoboth, for example, next week Sunday, I'm going to show you the Rehoboth list for 2024. So you will see. So guys, get it ready for me. Next week Sunday, we'll do the Rehoboth. You will remove the names, but you show from number 1 all the way down. You will suddenly realize that everything you see in this ministry, 20% of the members are the one bringing the money to do it. You see a practical in that Rehoboth list. Then also do Club 50 for last year and Club 50 for this year. Then remind me, let's look at it. When you look at Club 50, anytime you are looking at giving, you see that it's 20% of the people that are giving the money, and 100% of the people are enjoying the resources. So by the time you put all the money that 80% of the people give, it can't be compared to what the 20% of the people give. That's the principle. So once you understand that, your effort should now be put on ensuring that those 80% are empowered and equipped to be able to move, so that we can begin to swing it to 30-70, 60-40, 50-50. Hello? A perfect example is tithing. As we are sitting down here right now, if I ask you now, how many of you have been faithful in your tithing, that if we use 2024 to mark your script, January to December, you never failed. You will see it in this meeting now. That is 30%, 20%. So when you bring that into your personal life, you realize that most of the things you are spending time on, they are useless things. They are not producing results in your life. It is 20% of what you are focusing on that is producing the 80% of the results in your life. Once you understand that, you readjust your life And you realize that if 20% of my effort is producing 80%, let me put more efforts in that 20% so that I can produce more, and you see a change. So let's move on to the generosity principle now. Now, the generosity principle is a principle of giving. Giving is living, living is giving. If you continue to breathe in and breathe in and breathe in and breathe in, and you don't breathe out, you're going to die. The Dead Sea is called the Dead Sea simply because it's a sea that has inlets but no outlets. So many seas and many other oceans and many other rivers release into the Dead Sea, but the Dead Sea does not have any outlets. And there are people like that they are forever receiving. That's why Jesus Christ said it is more blessed to do what? To give than to what? Now, stretch forth your hands. Now, close your hands. Now, this hand is closed. Now, because this hand is closed, let's see what can happen. Now, if I want to give her this money, can she collect it? She can't. Because her hands are closed. So in order for this money to enter this hand, what does the hand have to do? The hand has to open. So many times when you hold on to what you have, God holds on to what he has. Life holds on to what life has. It is when you release what you have that you create a vacuum. And then more will come. And guess what? The harvest can never be smaller than the seed. Never. In any area of life, when your husband met with you, all they put there was a small seed called sperm. Today, a baby came out of it. The harvest can never be smaller than the seed. When you go to the farm, what you put under the soil is 2 or 3 corn. What comes out of it is cobs. The harvest can never be smaller than the seed. So every time you hold on to what you have, you are depriving yourself of greater things that is out there. Are you ready for this? The perfect will of God is not to bless you. The perfect will of God is to make you a blessing. The perfect will of God is not to bless you. The perfect will of God is to make you a blessing. So once you have generosity mentality and you understand that you are blessed to be a blessing, when that becomes the software that runs your life, Lord, empower me to give, you suddenly realize that favor will begin to flow, resources will begin to flow. Did you hear the testimony of that couple? They said, we joined the church, and then Ali Mosharais was coming, and then we became part of the committee, and then we had a project, but we gave, and all of a sudden, the floodgate opened. You know the problem? Many people think that people give because they have. It's not because they have, it's because they have understanding. They give because they have understanding. So one of the laws is the generosity principle. When you are not a generous person, it's not about born again or not. When you are not a generous person, because listen, God is the creator of all, but the savior of some. So whether you are born again or not, God created everybody. Even if you are an atheist, you are God's creation. So as a creator, he put principles in place for the perpetuation of his creation. And those principles have nothing to do with redemption. So you don't need to be saved. You don't even need to believe in God for the principles of God to work for you. Generosity, sowing and reaping, is a principle of creation. It's not about born again. So when an atheist is generous, the atheist will prosper. When a Christian is not generous, the Christian will be poor. It's not about born again and tongues. It's about creation. Because in the beginning, all he said was that let every tree bring forth every fruit with a seed in itself. And in order for that fruit to continue to exist, the seed in the fruit must be planted, and that tree will continue to exist. Whether you are born again or not, there is a principle of procreation. When a man meets with a woman, all things being equal, a baby will come. It has nothing to do with salvation. Have you seen mad people that are pregnant before? So the mad woman that is pregnant, does she have faith? Did she give tithe? Did she pray? Did she serve God? So how come a mad woman is born again, is not born again, no, she's not giving, she's not tithing, she's not praying, she's not, and she's pregnant. You that are now born again, you say it's village people holding your tummy. It's lack of understanding. Hello? If somebody that is not in the covenant can be pregnant, why was she pregnant? Principle. So principles are universal. They have nothing to do with redemption. So when you say Elon Musk does not pay tithe, George Bezos does not pay tithe, they are using the principles of God. It's principles of God. They are not using devil's principle. Hello? But sit down with any rich man on earth. There is no rich man on earth that is not a giver. Hello? Jeff Bezos does not pay tithe, but they give him billions. Elon Musk does not pay tithe. They give him billions. You that are poor and wretched, you are not giving. Say, don't pay tithe. Don't pay tithe. They don't need to pay tithe. They just need to give. Hello? They just need to apply the principle of generosity. Why? Because they are not practicing covenants. Hello? So everyone on earth that is producing results in any area is because they are using the principles of Jesus, even though they don't know God. So the problem now is those that don't know God are applying the principles of Jesus. So they are enjoying heaven on earth on their way to hell. You that know Jesus, you are not applying the principle. You are going through hell on your way to heaven. And God wants to have heaven on earth and heaven in